And welcome back. A little bit of a YouTube short special for you guys. It is startup draft season, and I thought, I got to reach out to my homeboy here, Aiden Grover, Candid Fantasy Football. Love talking with him anyway. I said, let's just do a mock draft, man. Let's get this out there so the people have it. Startups are coming hot and heavy. I know my home league is drafting this weekend. And now they're not here to defend themselves, but Andy, Ty, and Muscles, they're all going to get their asses kicked. So,
And really, this exercise is something that you don't just have to apply to startups. I don't think this is. We're right around the time our redraft season is kicking in, so really, I think these are pretty evergreen rankings here in ADP.
definitely. And we're going one quarterback. We're going one quarterback, full PPR, no tight end premium, just the regular old school, because we've done a lot of super flex on the show. We got to give a little love to the one quarterbackers out.
Absolutely, man. And I think that'll help us properly value these guys a little bit more.
That's it too, because when you take the super flex out of it, you can kind of see through the glass a little bit better. It isn't as cloudy, so we're talking position players, hot and heavy here.
Exactly.
Can't wait for this. And generously, I gave you the first pick, and there's like a smorgasbord of options here. There are a couple guys. There's probably going to be the one that's almost a slam dunk, but there are some guys you could maybe go with if you're feeling a little frisky. But I'm going to go to you, the 101 Candid. Who's it going to be?
So, you can really make this argument either way. Last year, I took Justin Jefferson. Well, I was in a salary cap league, but should I have had the 101, I would have taken him at 101. So I think he's the more chalk pick here, but obviously all these guys are chalk. I'm gonna make just a tiny little flag plant here. I'm going Jamar Chase as the 101 this year.
Ooh, I like it. See, I told you it's not so like slam dunkish this year to me. And in Dynasty, and if you listening to the Dynasty DNA wide receiver ranking show, we had Jamar Chase at one,
Yep.
mainly because of the quarterback situation.
Exactly. That's what it comes down to for me. I think AFC North is a really competitive division. I think you got the Lions in the NFC North, but I just think the addition of weapons in Minnesota. You got Jordan Addison now. You got a second year of TJ Hawkinson. And Joe Burrow is just better than Kirk Cousins. So
Yeah, and the only thing in the long term, that's just the key with Dynasty. Like Justin Jefferson's such a great player, but like everything you just mentioned, it seems like there's a little bit more cloudy forecast there. Like the talent's the talent, but Jamar Chase has so much opportunity to eat with Joe Burrow for the long haul. And I know he's hurt for the first few games, but you know me, this is one of my favorite sayings. Dynasty's a marathon, not a sprint.
exactly. And even in a redraft, man, I'll take 4 weeks of Burrow-less Jamar Chase. It's still Jamar Chase. So
Yeah. And going to that point, like depending on who you'd want, like I'm okay with it. That's what I said during the show,
yep.
the main Dynasty DNA show. You could flip a coin for me and I'd be happy with either one of them.
We're splitting hairs with these, but
That's right. I like it, man. Though Jamar Chase, bona fide stud. I think that's the route I would have went. But hey, like I said, you could go smorgasbords a ways. But you're going to come over to me now at the 102. You left me the leftovers. I told you, I'd be happy with either one of them.
Pretty fancy ass leftovers, if I do say so.
That's right. That's like some chicken cordon bleu left in the fridge or some steak or something like that. So I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson here at the 102. Mainly just going off everything we just said. He is my Dynasty wide receiver too. He most likely probably is the most talented receiver in the league, but a lot of things that Candid just mentioned, that's why Chase made that jump for me. But getting him here at 102, I'm just as happy. Like I said,
exactly. You could flip a coin, like you said.
Yeah. That's why I said during the show, like you could paintbrush slap me across the face if you told me I could get either of them for the long haul anchoring my Dynasty team.
Absolutely, man.
So keeping it simple, but now it's going to get a little bit more tricky. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase off the board. Going to the 103 now to you, Candid. We're going back to back constantly through this draft. It's going to be a 3-rounder. 103, who you looking at here?
103, I want Jalen Hurts. I think he's the best quarterback you can pick in a startup.
Yeah. Hey, man, no arguments for me. Points-wise, could be a little early for some people's liking, but like it depends on like what you want. And it's one of them positions. If you do take a Jalen Hurts here, you don't got to go the long haul. You got him for the long haul, and you don't got to worry about finding another one in the draft. I mean, that sucks. That sucks when you don't have a quarterback. And I'm a big believer in the foundation four. That's what I call it. I like to have a top quarterback, a top tight end, a top running back, top wide receiver.
A quarterback, especially. I think it's just so hard for you to land on like a Caleb Williams next year, and then you have to wait kind of to see, is he really this generational prospect? I mean, it certainly looks like that on paper, but everybody said that about Trevor Lawrence, and I mean, Trevor Lawrence hasn't even come anywhere close to what Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen has given you in fantasy. So I'm just, I think if you don't take him here, you're not going to get him. So he's probably my favorite quarterback that you can take for fantasy. Just given last year, it's like even in the first half of games, I mean, he was scoring you 24 fantasy points without even touching the ball really in the second half. So
right.
To come there, positive regression in a fantasy term. And I really like Jalen Hurts, man.
Definitely. And he gives you that rushing upside. And that's another thing. I mean, he's going to manufacture points with his legs, just like his arm. The weapons are there. The coaching's there. Really like his attitude too. A guy that cares, he's going to always work hard. And like I said, if you don't, it sucks when you don't have one of these positions. So you're solidifying a position, you're putting your stamp on it. And I like that, and that's what I like about you. You're not consensus. You like the players you like.
Yeah, I try to go with consensus, but I'll adjust, man. When I really like a player, I think Hurts is just a teammate elevator. That's what it comes down to.
I love it, man. Putting a stamp on it. I like that. Gonna cruise over to me here at 104. And I got to go with the most hyped player probably in Dynasty Fantasy Football right now. It's Bijan Robinson, running back, Atlanta Falcons. Somewhere Arthur Smith is smiling. He's happy with this pick, even for me. We all know he, took him in the top 10. So he's like, hey, TJ just outdid me and took him in the top 4. So bringing in Bijan Robinson here. I love this player. It's a foundational player. I know some people might like to go pass catching, and I'm okay for that. But like looking at the next, like there is tiers for me. Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase are their own tier.
Yeah, absolutely.
After that, it's like you got your tier break. So I really like Bijan here. Give me the best running back option in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Been hearing a lot of stuff like, little odds and ends. Oh, he's the third string running back right now. And I always say this, and this, if there's any discounts out there on Bijan Robinson right now, please go get him. If someone's worried about him being third string and you can take advantage of that, go get him, because he's going to be a foundational piece for you for many years. And if he takes off, we've seen this with other running backs, Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor. When they take off, their value skyrockets. We're talking usually 3 to 4 first-round picks people want for those type players.
Yep.
So give me the value. Give me the young stud running back there and a great offense for him. What do you think of Bijan?
I think it's a great pick, man. As you know, in a league that we're in, I just acquired him. So I want more shares of him. I'm personally thinking at redraft that, he might be my pick at 104. So.
And and just speaking of that league, I love your team when you have Brian and Bijan and you called them Meet the Robinsons.
Like that was Robinsons now. I put the B in front of it.
Oh, did you? I love that, man. That's a great team name. So if anyone has Brian and Bijan on the same roster, change your name.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it.
But
We're going to come over to you now. 105, Candid. The 105 in this Dynasty one quarterback mock draft. Who are you going to roll with here?
I think you got to take Mahomes here. Going off of my logic, if I just took Hurts at 103, I'm going to go with Mahomes here. And just, again, like you said, I think having a good quarterback just makes you feel so comfortable in Dynasty. And really, if you don't win it in year one, then you already have your foundation. That's the hardest piece to acquire in Dynasty. So that's just what I like to build off of.
And that's it, man. Patrick Mahomes is a difference maker. I mean, I know it's a one quarterback league, but number one quarterback last year, number one overall fantasy performer. And you got him here at 105. And I really like that, man. And it was right close near to where ADP should be.
Perfect.
In a one quarterback, PPR league. So, and two, that's going back to what we said, that's going to anchor your team for years to come.
Exactly.
And like I said, I love what you're doing here, because there's so many people, like a Christian McCaffrey's a great player, but we all know the injuries, with Patrick Mahomes, knock on wood, Usually everything's okay and he's ready to roll and he's in your lineup every week getting you 40 points. So it's not a bad.
Exactly. Really, with him, it's like he never gets you under 20 points. That's the thing. It's like,
No.
sure, he might not give you the Jalen Hurts upside, even the Josh Allen upside, but it's like he allows the rest of your team, if they have a bad game or anything like that, or if one player has a bad game, it doesn't matter. Patrick Mahomes, you can count on 20 points plus from him every single week. So you'll always have a chance of winning your matchup with him.
Definitely. And like I said, it's an anchor piece. It's a foundational piece. Going back to what I said about the foundation 4. So love that pick, man. We're going to come back over to me here now at the 106. And this is where it gets a little dicey because you could go a lot of different directions. I think I'm going to dip my toes back into the wide receiver pool. And I'm going to get a little ballsy here. Give me Garrett Wilson. I'm going to take Garrett Wilson at 106.
Yep.
I really like this kid, man. Come onto the scene last year, just absolutely electric in a bad offense. And now they're getting Aaron Rodgers, who we all know is a little bit of a polarizing player. But if you ask me, who'd you rather have me throwing the ball if I was Garrett Wilson, Zach Wilson, or Aaron Rodgers? That's a no-brainer. So,
of course. He had Zach Wilson, Mike White, and Chris Strivler.
So, yeah, I'm impressed. Chris Stribler, you brought that one out of left field, man.
And I mean, this guy caught passes from a 38-year-old last year, and he's going to catch passes from another 38-year-old this year, but one of them's a future Hall of Famer, so
that's a big difference.
He's such a talent, dude. I have him ranked as my 3rd wide receiver in Dynasty, and I think really this year he's going to prove to you that he's right up there in that Chase and Jefferson tier.
I definitely think if there's anyone that can get into that tier, Garrett Wilson's the guy. And like going back to like the players that were available, some of the next players that could have been picked, McCaffrey, Lamb, AJ Brown. I like AJ Brown. I like Lamb, but I'm going for ceiling here, and two, the age makes a difference. I mean, I know them guys, Lamb and Brown, are still young, but 23 years old with Garrett Wilson, and he could be a top 3 receiver possibly. He has that opportunity. So give me the ceiling.
And it's like your last one with Bijan. Bijan's 21, so I like that we got the really young guys who are already proving themselves up here. I mean, you want win now, but I think these guys are win now pieces. Plus, that maybe a year more on top of that with them because they're so young.
And that's the thing. Like in this first round, it's so critical because you want to get as many. You don't want to go old, but my thing is I always want to win. I don't care. Like, let me win the championship. If I can win the championship, I'm going to be really happy. But when you get a piece like Garrett Wilson, like you said, he's not only young, but he's a piece that can really help you contend right now.
Absolutely.
And I do truly believe, I know, finished, I think, wide receiver 21 last year. I do think that he'll be more around that top probably 7 range, I think, this year.
I'm right there with you, man. The defenses just can't cover him, dude. So,
yep. If he's healthy, he'll be there.
Yep.
Going over to the 107, back to you, my friend. Who are you going to take at 107?
I think I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb here.
Good pick.
Yeah, I'm also, wide receivers are really just what's hot right now across the NFL and across fantasy gamers. So, not even to be a homer because I'm a Cowboys fan, but I just think this is another guy that's shown you 30-plus point upside in certain games. And whenever the Cowboys really need to push the ball downfield, they need to throw. You can line CeeDee Lamb up anywhere, all 3 positions, and Dak's going to look for him. So I think he's always going to be the top target in a division that you're going to have to pass the ball if you want to win games in. I mean, even the Commanders are looking, they look kind of decent right now. So you just never know what kind of games you're going to get. And I think those you want access to these players in these barn-burning divisions who have the talent to post you a wide receiver 1 overall season if things break in their way. So.
And finish wide receiver 5 last year. So, I mean, another great finish. And he's the true alpha in that Dallas offense.
Easily.
And really, that's the next tier for me, man, in Dynasty circles. A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, and Garrett Wilson. That's my next tier of players. So, and like I mentioned before, if I could get any of them, I'd be really happy. I always go like maybe a little bit more towards Garrett Wilson in startups just because the age and the ceiling, if I can get them. But CD Lamb would definitely be my next guy. And I think for years, he's going to be a real force, man.
I do too. And Ty made a great point on one of the recent episodes. It's just there's none of the bullshit with him, man. He just comes in and plays football, dude. You don't get that with wide receivers very often.
And on a team that's flashy like the Cowboys,
yep.
He just shows up and does his job. He's a lunch pail guy.
He's a really good, likable player.
Definitely. Love CD Lamb. Now, you took CD Lamb from me, so we're going to go to 108. So now, I'm going into the sprinkler a little bit, but I figured I had a backup contingency plan here. I'm going to go with A.J. Brown, man. Like I mentioned, that was the last one in my tier. And I know it's tough because I know another thing we mentioned, like a lot of people like drafting Devonta Smith a little bit later because the production is semi-close. Yeah, it could be a better value pick, but A.J. Brown still wide receiver 6 last year in a prolific offense. He's the kind of guy, 26 years old, so he's not ancient history, still fairly young, right in that mid-20s range. You could throw him a screen pass. He could take it all the way. He's such a talent. He's such a big player, strong player, great yak guy. If you're down in the red zone, there's nobody better at throwing them fade jump balls up to than A.J. Brown. So the touchdowns are going to be there. A guy that has the ability to run the routes that he does with the yak ability and the touchdown scoring ability, it's a rarity.
I mean, just his size to be that good at route running.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Not a lot of big men could move like he moves. He is a rare player. DK Metcalf's another one, but it's going back to what I said about Ole Miss. There's something in the water in Mississippi.
Jonathan Mingo's massive too.
he's another tank, man. The only small guy to come out of there is Elijah Moore, and he's still a great player, I think. So they got a hell of a wide receiver room down at Ole Miss.
They sure do, and I don't think any Eagles player in this range is a bad pick because it's just an ascending offense that they're going to get you points. So
that's what it's all about, man. Give me the points. Give me them players in them great offenses.
Absolutely.
Going back to you now at 109, Candid. 109, pressure's back on. Who you going with there, man?
I think I'm going to go with the Monroe St. Brown here. I'm going to pass on CMC again because I don't want to take a running back this early in Dynasty because I just get such better value from these wide receivers. And I think his situation is just so perfect that he is this Jared Goff type of receiver. And they just mold together so perfectly. And I think you're going to have that connection for years to come. And just a target monster. So if we're talking PPR, what more could you ask for? I mean, we're talking a floor every single week of 10 plus points.
Yeah, and wide receiver 7 last year. He finished 23 years old. Great foundational piece for Dynasty. And like you said, I like what you said about the running backs. Unless you can get one of these true bona fide guys that can really light up the scoreboard for you in their early 20s, it's hard to justify taking one of them guys earlier than some of these wide receivers.
Over a guy whose game is going to age so well with Amon-Ra. I think really when you look at his game aging, sure, he might not get you as many yards after the catch or anything like that, but he's just constantly going to get open. He's constantly going to be schemed open. He's constantly going to be getting fed the ball. So I think really in Dynasty, you want the guys who are just going to touch the ball the most. And I think he's going to touch the ball even more than CMC is now because they're already managing his workload more in San Francisco than they did in Carolina. He's on the back nine of his career historically in running back terms. So
definitely, man.
Off the board soon, but I want the wide receiver. I want the young wide receivers over all these running backs other than Bijan.
Because that's what's nice. I mean, barring something freaky happening, these guys, a lot of these guys we just picked that went off the board, they should still be foundational pieces on your roster for the next 4 to 6 years.
Yep.
Running backs, it could be 2-3 years. So you're definitely extending your window opportunity with these young wide receivers. I like the pick, man.
And you got to think, man, they're gonna equal or they're gonna outscore CMC's points per game too. So,
definitely. We're gonna go over here to me though at the 110, man, and you make me do it. I'm gonna take Tyreek Hill. I know the age, but this guy is a point machine. I mean, the guy is such a talent. The fastest.
He's amazing.
I mean, outside of Usain Bolt, probably the fastest human on the earth. He finished wide receiver 2 last year, and Tua had all the concussion problems, all the injuries. Everyone thought when he left Kansas City that his play is going to digress a little bit. Not
It improved.
it improved. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we mentioned during the show, like, what was his per catch, like his per catch yardage? It was it was over 10 yards, like average.
Waddle, I think, were both. I don't know if they're both top 3, but they were both definitely top 10. Tyreek Hill was number 1 last year, I believe. I wrote an article on him actually for our website. Uh, he had 170 targets, if I'm not mistaken. His between 160 and 170. I think it was 170, and 1,700 yards. And this is games where Tua wasn't even playing some of these games. And now he's got Mike White, who we literally, if you had Garrett Wilson like me last year, you were praying that Mike White was starting. So he's locked in this year, probably next year too.
That's unbelievable. Looking at his yard per catch, Tyreek Hill last year, every game except for 3, and he played all 17 games last year. Every game except for 3, he was over 10, like averaged at least over 10 yards per catch.
Just bonkers.
It's unbelievable, man. Definition of big play is Tyreek Hill. But going back to the pick here, I know he's 29 years old, but I'm telling you guys, I've been in a lot of dynasty startups, and this is what happens. I mean, especially in one quarterbacks, a lot of these older guys seem to fall back towards the back a little bit. I try to not get too much sucked into like, okay, now I got to force feed, pick a younger player that's a little bit further down the board. Like, let's just say, for example, like a T Higgins or something like that. You cannot force a pick like that.
You just can't.
You can't. If Tyreek Hill's sitting there, go get him. And the main goal is to win your fantasy league. And with a player like Tyreek Hill, he gives you one hell of a chance.
He does, man. I mean, that's why I picked him for my article. I think he might have been the first player that I wrote about in my favorite series this year, because I think he's the ultimate win now pick, and redraft. It's between him and Bijan for me. I'm personally at the 104, and I think he's going to burn me if I don't take him, so I'll probably end up just taking him there.
Oh, yeah, and we've seen it. Even with bad quarterback play, he gets it done.
Yep.
And, the thing is like I said, if he's there, you can't get sucked into, trying to get a fancy young team. If I can get a Tyreek Hill and win, let me win. And I'll tell you another thing, too. If it goes bad and your team isn't good, Tyreek Hill is going to put up numbers. So even if it was like where you had to blow your team up, you're still going to get a heck of a trade deal for Tyreek Hill.
I think you can still demand a king's ransom for him, man. I mean, he's like the ultimate win now piece. If you want to win and your team's not doing very good, I'll charge the shit out of him.
Definitely, man. And that's just it. That's what you tell him. Like, this piece could put you over the top. It should put you over the top. And then you're going to get a good haul for him because people want to win.
Or you can just keep him if you don't get that return. Just keep him and add him to your rebuild. Even if he's older, he's still got another 1, 2, 3 years.
And don't force the first deal. Maybe a better deal comes along.
Exactly, man.
We're going to hop back to you now, the 111. 111, Candid. Who you going with here?
This is where I'm going to take Josh Allen off the board. I think he's slightly below Mahomes and Jalen Hurts for me. But, yeah, I would put those two in their own tier, first and second in quarterback rankings. I mean, pick whichever one you like. For me, it's Jalen Hurts just because of the rushing. I think he's got more upside, but Josh Allen's almost the same thing as Jalen Hurts. I just personally don't like his weapons quite as much, but
right. Yeah. And two, like, the only worry with Josh Allen, like, he's a great player. It's just like he needs to learn how to get down.
Yeah, he does.
Going back to like the big 3 quarterbacks is what I call them: Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes. Honestly, and this is what I said during the quarterback rankings episode, I would not be surprised if any one of them finished quarterback 1. I think any one of them's capable.
I think even Lamar can do it. Lamar's my MVP bet for this year, but you can't really justify taking him over Josh Allen in a dynasty league, but
definitely. And he's that piece, man. Like I said, it's going to be an anchor piece for you. Josh Allen, as long as he learns to get down and protect himself a little bit, he's going to be in the league a long time, and he's got the talent. You should be able to eat off him for a long time.
And a cannon arm, dude. I mean, that's the one thing that I don't think Hurts really has. Mahomes has an insane arm, but it's not Josh Allen's arm strength.
That's true. That's true. We're going to hop in here to the 112, and boy, it's getting tougher. But I think it's time. I'm going to dip my toes back into the running back pool here. I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey. I know he keeps falling. I'm going to take him off the board here at the 112. I feel good about it. As I mentioned, guys, if I'm sitting from 110 to 112, a lot of these players are going to be here. You can't do anything foolish. You can't try to overthink things. Like I mentioned, like a Chris Olave. He's another guy. Like I like him, but I wouldn't take him over Tyreek Hill or Christian McCaffrey. You can't. I mean, you just can't do it. I know it's Dynasty. Maybe you can get someone like that in the second round to pair with, your older player, but I'm just feeling more confident of trying to build a win now model from 110 to 112. I've done it a million times. That's what I've done in the DNA League, the Dynasty DNA League. We all were laughing about how my team was so old. And it is. It is old, but it has a great chance to win. I think I am projecting the most points right now. So, hey, if you have a chance to go for it, sometimes you got to play the cards that you're dealt. So,
Hey, dude, the banners fly forever, man. So
that's it. So Christian McCaffrey, going back to him just real quick to touch on him in that San Francisco offense with Kyle Shanahan, it's a great fit. The big concern's health. You mentioned it. If he's healthy, though, top 2 finish, no doubt.
what I like about them is I think they do such a better job keeping him healthy than Carolina did.
I agree with that. That's a good point.
That could add at least a year onto his career.
They know how to utilize them. And like Andy mentioned during the show many times, Elijah Moore still gets a little bit of work. So like you said, they're trying to preserve Christian McCaffrey a little bit. I think they scheme him up better, like you said, where he's not taking some of these bigger hits.
Yeah.
Just running them right up between the tackles constantly.
They don't have to run him between the tackles. They can split carries 4 different ways. I mean, you can give Debo carries, you can give CMC carries, give Elijah Mitchell carries. I think what they're doing is getting CMC out in space, and that's really where he's at his best anyways.
Let him do his work.
Exactly.
So we're gonna come back now. I took the 112, so I'm gonna give you the 2-1. The 2-1 here. What are you gonna go with now, man?
I think I'm gonna take Cooper Kupp here.
I like it.
I think that's the pick. If I took Amon-Ra where I took him, I take a player that I think is really so similar to Amon-Ra in Cooper Kupp. And, of course, he's older. And we're getting to that range where these are the elite talents, the Cubs and then Stephon Diggs and Tyreek Hills and these types of guys. And I think he's just as good of a fantasy asset as these guys. So, yeah, I'm going to take Cooper Kupp off the board here.
And I like it. And it's going back, like if this was a snake draft, this would be a back-to-back pick. And I mean, and I know it's a big question with health, but if you had Christian McCaffrey and Cooper Kupp and you knew they were going to be healthy, you'd feel pretty good about it going into the season. So, like I said, these players just seem to fall down, to these areas. I've noticed that so much, and that's the kind of model I like to go for. Cooper Kupp, you can't let him slide much longer. I know it's frustrating with the injuries, but you can't predict injuries. And I'm a big believer on that. Like, draft the talent. Don't worry about any other nonsense.
Yep. And I think he's one of those guys that's just like, he doesn't need speed. He doesn't need like burst to be as good as he is. He's just so technically like sound. And he's got a coach who's probably one of the best schemers in the entire league. So
no doubt.
He's healthy. He's going to produce fantasy points for you.
No doubt, man. I'm going to go now to me at the 2-2. And I'm going to roll with, and this is tough. I mean, there's a couple players I'm looking at, but I think I'm going to do it here. I'm going to go with Jalen Waddle here at 2-2. I mean, another guy that I know, he's not quite on the level of some of these guys, but he's such a big player, and he's still a top 10 finish. I mean, it's so easy to get lost into some of these other receivers and bummed out when you feel bummed out when you get a Jalen Waddle. But if you were telling me you're going to give me a wide receiver 8 overall last year that's 24 years old, here in the back end of the beginning part of the second round, I'd feel good about that.
You were definitely getting a little bit of a discount on him.
Yeah, totally, man. And sometimes this happens with players. They fall down a little bit, but really though, in a lot of startups, I mean, you're seeing them right around this area, anywhere from 2.2 to 2.6. But I think it's a great pick because of the age, the big playability, the offense he's in. Like I said, wide receiver 8 last year, man. You can't beat it. Top 10 finish.
And I mean, he's done it in two different ways. I'm not even really the biggest Jalen Waddle fan, but I think he's showed you that he can do it as a target earner and he can do it as a big play guy. So
totally,
you need him to do. I think Tyreek Hill kind of caps his upside a little bit as of right now, but it's like we said, we don't know how much longer Tyreek Hill is going to play, and you're getting him behind Tyreek Hill. So I like the pick, man.
Love it, man. Going over to the 2-3 now to you. The 2-3, what are you rolling with this time?
I think I'm going to take Breece Hall here.
I like it, man. I have no arguments.
because I just, the ACL concerns me a lot. So I was debating between him and Stephon Diggs here, but I think Brees Hall's still so young, and really, when it comes to this caliber of athlete who's just so good, and like Cooper Kupp, they're so technically sound that it doesn't matter if they temporarily lose this burst. And even if they don't fully get back that speed, I think they're just so good at the game that, I mean, we saw Brees Hall last year. I don't know if it was just running backs or if it was all skill position players as a whole, but in that 6 game sample size, he put up the most fantasy points per game of anybody. I think I must have only been running backs.
Yeah, he was a true monster when he was on the field.
Yeah, dude, it's some stat that I heard that's just something like that. With his usage, it wasn't even really above 50%, and he is still up there in fantasy points per game because he was just catching passes. He was taking runs to the house. I mean, he's just a stud.
Yeah,
And
and
back to
and long term here, I think you got a hell of a discount because
for
like
sure.
what we just said, what we've seen out of Brees Hall, we all know that Dalvin Cook signed with the Jets, and there are so many people that are worried about that. And in redraft leagues, it is a problem. I mean, like you wouldn't want to take Brees Hall too high, and then you're going to get maybe a little bit hurt there, you know. But
Yeah,
in Dynasty, man, I've been saying it, I've been touting it. I think Dalvin Cook signing with the Jets might be the best thing for Brees Hall, especially if you roster Brees Hall, because it would have sucked if he would have come back this year, not fully, maybe quite 100%
mhm.
himself, and they were just going to run him into the ground.
Hamstring injuries and
Lingering hamstring injuries. Now you got Dalvin Cook there, a veteran running back, should help his cause. I mean, that'll take a little bit of load off. And Andy mentioned it greatly. I do agree with him. I could see Brees Hall doing so much better in the second half of the year. You know, I
oh,
mean,
for
I
sure.
would not be surprised, like during the fantasy playoffs, if Brees Hall gave you a big bump because he's going to be starting to get 100% acclimated by that time. And that could be a big plus.
Absolutely. And ironically, the guy that he's now sharing a backfield with also tore his ACL very early into his career. And I mean, look at the season that he's produced after that. So
That's a great point. Yeah. And that's might even be good for Cook being there with him because if anyone can give him pointers, you
yeah,
said Cook went through that. So
it's a narrative based take, but
yeah. Hey, it helps you feel a little bit warm and fuzzy inside. It always helps. But I will say this, man, like one last thing about Brees Hall. If you are a rebuilding team and you have an ability to acquire Brees Hall, you need to go out and do it
for sure.
because this is probably going to be your best shot because of like if a contender has him, man, right now, and they have an opportunity to win, and it comes out, and he's not getting much because of Dalvin Cook and because of the injury. This could be your opportunity, and I've been saying it like I love Brees, but you're almost punting for 2024. But if you keep that in the back of your mind, it might be a great pickup for you. If you get Brees Hall and you finish, let's say, with a bad record, and you finish in the top 4, could you imagine getting Marvin Harrison and having a Brees Hall on your
But
team?
that's what I'm saying, man. I mean, it's just you kind of got to wait for it. And I mean, I traded him away, but I felt like I got a great return. I got Anthony Richardson and a couple more things in that package that I traded him away for. But it's like I just as easily could have wanted to buy him, and I still have another share of him. So he's someone that I think right now people are panicking a little bit right now because they're impatient, and it's not a surefire bet that he's going to come back to the exact same player. But it's like I always use Dalvin Cook for this example. It's his teammate now, and he tore his ACL very early in his career, and then he went on to be an absolute fantasy monster. So I think you're getting a little bit of a discount on Brees Hall right now.
Totally. And just to put that in everyone's ear one more time, if you're a rebuilder or middle of the road, this is a great player to target. If you're a contender, he's probably not going to do much for you this year, unfortunately. But if you're a middle of the road rebuilder, man, this is a nice player to try to get your hands on that could be a difference maker and try to get your team up over that hump the next couple of years.
Absolutely, man.
There was a good value where you got Brees. I was definitely looking at him. But now we're going to the 204. And boy, does it start getting tougher, man. It's getting really tough now because there's some players here that I like, but I'm conflicted. But I think I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor here. As much as I hate to do it, I know the problems that are going on with him right now with the Jim Irsay mess. He's being an idiot again. Big surprise.
New.
But here we go. We don't know what's going to happen. I do think he returns to the Colts this year if I had to put my finger on it. My big thing is how committed is he going to be? This could be another player that you might have to wait another year on to get a full 100% confident, feeling good Jonathan Taylor. If they maybe can get him a deal or trade him in the offseason. But I don't think he gets traded right now. I know Irsay's asking for like a first and a bunch of other stuff. Well, it was messed up.
He won't pay him that on his own. So it's just, it just shows you what a clown Jim Irsay is. But
Oh, yeah. And as messed up as the running back market is, there's no one that's going to pay that right now, plus pay him the contract he wants. I mean, I would be really shocked. I know Miami's kind of kicking around, but I go back to the point Miami kind of like Dalvin Cook. So why didn't they sign Dalvin Cook? So
it might thing was starting to open up elsewhere. I mean, I'm even a little I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, my Cowboys will make an offer for him.
Oh, I'll tell you what, if they could get him, man, and that could really propel them. That would be a great move.
I think so too, dude. And if he does get traded, I think his value goes up. So that's a good pick.
Oh, totally, man. And that's just going back to it. 24-year-old running back that's had a running back one finish in his past history. And I don't care where he goes. He's got such talent. He'll be just fine. It's just frustrating that you might not see him on the field this year, or there's going to be problems. We don't know, like, how committed is he going to be? Does he get traded? There's a lot of question marks. But going back to what we said about Brees, feel like this is a good value pick. You just might have to wait a little bit on it. But like I always say, man, Dynasty's a marathon, not a sprint.
I'm with you completely, man. I mean, I wrote an article on Jonathan Taylor too, just like Tyreek Hill before all of this, saga started. But I was really, really high on him to start the year. I thought he was going to be one of the biggest bounce back players in all of fantasy. So the talent, man.
I think he's got a good opportunity as long as this contract stuff comes out.
For sure.
I think we need to get a shirt with a clown face with Jim Irsay with the clown hair. What a nightmare. We're going to go over to you now at the 2-5. The 205, what are you rolling with here, man?
I think it'd be unfair not to take off the board at this point.
Who are you taking?
Oh, Stephon Diggs. I think it just wouldn't be doing him justice if I didn't pick him here.
That's a good pick, man. He was one of the ones I was looking at. And we're seeing Diggs right around this area quite often. I've been doing a lot of startups. I mean, you know how it is. I mean, I think I'm in 30 leagues. People just keep inviting me. And I'm like, yeah, I'll play, and I come right into it. But I see him a lot in this area. Another guy, like we mentioned before, like Tyreek, Cooper Kupp, the age is a little bit of a concern. But if this guy's healthy, he's on the field, he's a monster. He's a perennial wide receiver one finish every year. Great offense in Buffalo. So it's a great pick.
And that's the thing. I think you're also getting a little bit of a discount on him now too, because he's, from the outside, he seems a little disgruntled right now. We don't know how much of that is really the media painting this picture. We don't know what's going on field between him and Josh Allen. I really don't think it's anything that we need to be concerned about right now. And they're a win now team, so why not add a win now piece to your at a discount that's just top 5 route runner in the league, top 5 everything in the league when it comes to wide receiver. And, some of the guys we've taken ahead of him just aren't as talented as him right now. So
definitely. I know, man, you got to go with the talent. And hey, man, he's just as good as anyone. If he's on the field, he's going to win you games. And again, if it don't go good, that's why I don't panic about picking older players, especially in a startup. If it don't go good, you can blow it all up and he's still going to fetch good value.
Of course.
But we're going to cruise over to me, 206, and, it's going to get crazy again here. Dan Campbell, I hear the music in the background. It's Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. Trying to block it out. I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs, running back Detroit Lions. And I'll tell you, man, honestly, I'm like so conflicted by this because I am a Saquon guy, and I know Saquon's on the board, but kind of going on what I said earlier with Garrett Wilson. I'm looking for ceiling here, and at the running back position, outside of Bijan right now, this is probably your biggest ceiling player you could find. I'm hoping they utilize him in the passing game. I do think David Montgomery has a role. This could be a guy that he's going to have a really nice season this year, but I think next season will be even better.
Yeah.
So, might be a little bit more of a waiting game, but I love Gibbs.
For sure, man. I mean, I think really one of my strategies was to just draft both of them onto your team and just start them both.
Yeah.
One's going to be the grinder, like Jamal Williams, and we saw how many points per game DeAndre Swift is putting up last year when they actually fucking used him. They just didn't like him for some reason. And I think this is what they wanted DeAndre Swift to be. So everybody who is so high on DeAndre Swift, I think you should be just as high on Jahmyr Gibbs.
Definitely. And Andy made that weird trade suggestion saying Dan Campbell would probably want Jonathan Taylor and he might trade Gibbs for Taylor. I said, if that happens, I will retire from this show.
Yeah, I'd eat my hat, man. I think he loves Jahmyr Gibbs. He saw the reaction in the draft room. Whether I think, you know, I think it was kind of a bad pick, but they're incentivized to use him now, and they have a really big need at pass catcher. So they need someone to catch passes outside of ARSB.
That's it, man. They need some kind of weapon to be on the field and get the football in his hands. I love the ceiling of this player, Jahmyr Gibbs. If you can get him around this area, could be one of the biggest boom picks of this draft for anybody.
The draft capital with him too suggests that he's going to be a fantasy monster.
No doubt, man. Back to the 207. Candid 207. What are you doing here now?
I guess I'll take Austin Eckler off the board here.
Somewhere Ty's smiling right now.
Yeah, like we've been saying, man, these old guys just fall. And I'm looking at the board here, and I'm like, is there anyone who could give me a fantasy year that Austin Eckler could this year? I just don't think there is.
No. I mean,
best player on the board right now.
As Andy mentioned, like with Kellen Moore there, could the catches go down a little bit? I think they might, but Austin Eckler still, if he's healthy, he's going to be a top 5 finish.
Absolutely, man. And, you got the sour taste because if you didn't have him the last 2 years, it's so unlikely that he's going to give you another, 18 touchdown season. But the guy is just so good. And I don't think you can justify taking anyone that's not as talented as him here. So
agree with that wholeheartedly.
But I would take Eckler here.
No doubt. Well, we're going to come back over to me now. It's the 208. Another pick where you can do a plethora of things. But I think I'm going to go with Saquon this time. I'm going to take him. As we mentioned, we passed on some running backs early. Now is going to be the time where you start seeing them come off the board a little bit. These high-end young wide receivers are always prioritized first. But now, the Giants did give Saquon this 1-year deal. It's kind of strange that he signed a 1-year deal because that would give the team another year of control.
Yeah.
Almost tells me like there's got to be some kind of deal in the works of some kind. They just wanted him to be back on the field. And with Daniel Jones, we've seen it last year. Saquon was a beast with Daniel Jones. He was definitely their best player on offense. I know Darren Waller's there now. But Saquon's still going to be the heartbeat of that Giants offense.
For sure.
think if he's healthy, no doubt a top 10 finish. And with the pass catching upside that he can provide you, it could get real interesting if he could get a lot of balls thrown his way.
For sure, man. And I think him deal shows you that he's just committed. Like he's gonna tough it out if he gets nicked up. He's gonna give you fantasy points, basically. I think he's committed to seeing what this Giants team can do, and I think they're an underrated team. I know Andy loves them, so.
Oh yeah, that's his second favorite team. If anyone knows anything about what's going on there, he knows. Believe me.
Yeah. So I like that pick, man. I think he's gonna give you fantasy points this year. So.
Appreciate it. We're gonna go to the 209. The 209. Who you rolling with this time?
I'm gonna go Joe Burrow right here.
Kept sliding and you grabbed him.
Yep, I had to take him here because I don't think he's very far off of that Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes range. So, yeah, I think when you get a chance to get an elite quarterback here, again, just staple of your team. Sure, he doesn't give you the rushing upside, but we're talking about the AFC North as one of the best divisions in football. And, I think their defense got worse. So, and other teams got more competitive now. So I think that means you're going to have more of these games where Burrow's just passing and passing and passing and passing some more. So
that's a good point. That is a really good point. I mean, I know I was on a show and, there was a Cincinnati fan on and he was really saying that he wasn't too concerned with the loss of the 2 safeties. And I thought, man,
I don't know, man.
You lose 2, that's tough. If you lose 1, you can bring it. When you lose 2, they got to learn the system. They got to communicate. I compare it to a D-man tandem in hockey. There's a lot of communication. Yeah, there's a lot of trust.
For sure. And it's like just these other teams got better in their division. I don't know about the Browns, but the Ravens.
It's always a mystery with the Browns.
Exactly. But the Ravens are going to pass more. We've talked about this. I mean, we've waxed lyrical about Kenny Pickett. I think he's just a good quarterback. And I think the Steelers are really, they're built to pass. So
Yeah, they definitely. I'll tell you what, man. Watching the preseason game tonight against Atlanta, they're in cruise control. They're looking really good. It's going to be interesting. I think them games might be a little dogfightish. You know, there's going to
mhm.
be a lot of points scored. I think.
That's what I'm thinking too, man. I think he's going to give you games past.
Really like that opinion. That was a good take. We're going to go to the 210 now. And man, there's a couple players here. And I'm going to go with Chris Olave. Chris Olive. I'm going to take Chris Olive at 210. And I mentioned this on the show. You know, he's not like my cup of tea. He's not my most favorite
Not
receiver in the
necessarily
world.
either, but
Yeah, he's just a good reception guy. You know,
yep.
like that's the thing. Like I compare him to death by 1,000 paper cuts. Like he's not going to score a bunch of touchdowns on you. He's not the best run after the catch guy, but he catches so many balls.
Absolutely. I mean, he's just a natural separator. So
He is. And now with Derek Carr, this is a clear upgrade coming in. Finished wide receiver 25 in PPR last year. And honestly, I predict him to be anywhere from 15 to 12 this year. I think he is going to go up. I think just based on, and this is the kind of guy that Carr loves, man. Like,
that's what I'm saying, dude. I mean, I've heard people say like, "Oh, Derek Carr is not an upgrade from Andy Dalton." Like, get the fuck out of here, man. Like, Carr is so much better than Andy Dalton. I'm not saying Derek Carr is like a god by any means, but come on.
he's better than the Red
Clear
Rider.
upgrade. Yeah, this is such a clear upgrade for Chris Olave.
Oh, it is. And it's going back to like what we've seen Derek Carr do with Hunter Renfro and players like this. I mean, like if he can do that with them, Chris Olave like is going to eat.
And Devonta Adams last year, this is the type of receiver that Derek Carr, he's timing based. Chris Olave is a separator. He's just going to get open, and Derek Carr is going to pepper him.
No doubt. We're going to head over to the 211. 211 Candid. What are you doing here, man?
Well, whenever Chris Olave goes off the board, this is when I know to take Devonta Smith. So this is my guy. I just want to put my stamp on this guy. I love Devonta, man.
It was a great pick. And that's just what we mentioned earlier with AJ Brown. A lot of similar production. You're getting them a round and a half later, usually, right in that area. So wide receiver 9 last year in a perennial great offense. I love Devonta Smith. He's the only 6-foot receiver that I've ever seen. Like, and I mean, Antonio Brown, I guess I can't say only, but he's like one of the few 6-foot receivers I've seen just go up and snatch the ball over people.
Yeah.
He's so big for his size, man.
Mm-hmm. I comp him like in stature, he's smaller than AJ Brown. That's obvious, but he doesn't play that different than AJ Brown.
He doesn't. I've never. He can jump through a gym. He's fast, and he has the tenacity. He always wants to win the ball.
Yeah,
I love him, man. He's such a tank. But
man.
we're gonna go over to me here, and I said this on the show, and I knew it was coming, but it's always gonna be in these next couple picks. But I am the one in tight end 1, and it's gonna be Travis Kelce, no doubts about it, man.
Killing your
It just drives you nuts. Year after year, we fade Kelce. But like Ty said, every year in the Super Bowl round, who's in the championship round? Travis Kelce getting 30, 40 points for you. I know he's 33 years old, but there comes a point and I've been seeing him a lot around this 212 to 3.3 range. If you want to win, there's nobody better. I mean, if you could snag him here, this hypothetical team would have Jamar Chase and Travis Kelce. Well, you have a pretty good shot this year.
Yeah, my goodness.
So it just comes to a point where I know he's old, but we just got to go back to the stats. The only thing that concerns me is about Kelce's like what we talked a little bit about pre-show. Like we just don't know when he's going to hang it up. He could probably play forever. He's just built that way. Yeah. But it's just like maybe whenever he's just done or he's disinterested, who knows? He has nothing left to prove. But going into this season, even if you can get 2 seasons out of Travis Kelce, for what he can provide you, it's a great pick because you're going to have such an advantage over the rest of your league.
I'm right there with you, man. And like, I think that point that you guys made on the tight end ranking show is so great. I don't think his production is going to fall off. I think the only fear you have with him is that he just decides, all right, I've won all that I can win.
That's it, man. Like, knows, like we know Gronk went into WWE. Would Kelce do something like it's possible?
He's the type of guy that would do something like that.
Yeah, like he just likes to have fun, man. You just don't know if one day he wakes up and is like, I just want to do something else.
Yeah, but until then, he's going to score you a shitload of fantasy points.
No doubt about it. The 301. Now we're in the third round. This is the last round of our hypothetical startup mock draft one quarterback. 301. Who you rolling with here?
I'm going to take Lamar here. Another one of my guys. I'm going to put my stamp on him because I think he would get taken before he could get back to me if I was picking here. And again, I'm a quarterback guy, man. In Dynasty, I want good quarterbacks. So Lamar's my flag plant this year. I think I placed a bet on him being the MVP. I placed a bet on a Ravens Seahawks Super Bowl. I mean, just
I hope not. God.
I'm sure you hope not, man. Lamar, man. I just think he's so talented. I think he's a way better passer than people give him credit for. And I think you're going to see that this year. I think you're going to see the offense open up. I like how they're surrounding him. I like that they paid him. He's still 26. I mean, in the prime of his career. I think you're getting like of a guy who could give you a Jalen Hurts type of season here. And you're getting him 3 rounds later than where I took him.
No doubt, man. And it will be interesting to see what happens with Lamar this year. If he can just stay healthy. You know, I remember Muscles on the quarterback rankings episode saying that one stat that he's never been available for the fantasy playoffs.
That is concerning, yeah.
And that's what worries you. Like, I never knew that, but when he said that, I'm like, damn, that sucks. You know, like, so
Yeah.
if he's on the field, though, he's such a monster fantasy wise. It's just keeping healthy with him. But you're right. I mean, the fact that they got this new offense, I know me and Andy said it. Either it's going to be really good or really bad. But even if it goes bad with his athleticism and Mark Andrews is still there, I think they'll be just fine.
You know what I love about his setup is that I think there is such a like mutual trust between Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson, where it's like you saw plays a couple of years ago where Jim Harbaugh is on the sideline, like Lamar, like, do you want to go for it? I mean, there's just those two are like this, man. And when you have a coach and a quarterback that are two great, a great player and a great offensive mind, I think he's undervalued right now.
I agree with you. I mean, like I said, as long as he's healthy and he's out there, he's going to get you points, and he's just such an athlete.
I'm with you. I think he's the best Russian quarterback of all time, personally.
He's definitely. Oh, you're going over MV7.
Yeah, I think over Vic, I've heard some people say Justin Fields because it's hard to argue after how many games he kept doing it this year. But Lamar's always going to have a place in my heart, man.
Well, we all know that Dynasty Wiz would love you for saying that. He's such a Justin Fields guy. I said it. I think he did that on purpose in the Dynasty DNA League. He set it up to where I had to pick last, and I had to take Justin Fields. No one else took him. I'm like, why is he still on the board? I'm like, surely the 110. No, 111. No. Oh, TJ. So let's see what happens. So, but I do like Fields' rushing and Lamar. I just hope that they can stay healthy. And, you know, that's the big concern. We're going to go over here to the 3-2. Boy, I got a tough decision here at 3-2. There's 2 running backs I'm looking at. There's 2 wide receivers I'm looking at. I think I'm going to lean the wide receiver side. And I'm going to take T. Higgins here at the 302. I'm going to go with a little bit more of the age. I call him the best wide receiver, too, in fantasy football. I truly believe that. I mean, he's just someone that's going to give you that consistent, I think, as long as he's in Cincinnati, he's going to give you that consistent, probably 13 to 18 production if he's healthy.
Certainly.
So I know what I'm going to get out of T. Higgins, and I do think that there is a chance that he does leave Cincinnati. I don't think that they can pay Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and all these guys and afford to keep a T. Higgins. In a way, I almost hope they make it work because it works with him there. You never know. It's a little bit of a mystery, but if there is a scenario, and you don't wish bad on anyone, but if there is a scenario, Jamar Chase goes out, T. Higgins is going to vault himself up in the ranks.
Absolutely, man. You know what? I'm calling the shot here. It's sneaky. I have no clue if this would happen, if they'd even be interested in it. But I'd like to see him in Carolina, man.
It'd be interesting. It would with Bryce Young and that young offense.
Yeah, and this is a contract year for T. Higgins, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
I thought so. So really, we don't know. You could have him back in Cincinnati, which is a great scenario for fantasy, or you could have him go somewhere where he could be just a clear-cut one, and he's got that alpha prototype. So
yeah, definitely, man. The guy's a beast. He's a good touchdown getter. He's a good yard after the catch guy. Just reliable.
Absolutely, man.
We're going to move to the 3-3. The pressure's back on you at 3-3. Who you rolling with here?
I'm going to take Nick Chubb here.
The Chubster. I like it.
I just think it's such a cliche term that he's the best pure runner in the NFL. But when you get a chance to take that kind of guy, I mean, we've taken other running backs here who you can make a case that Nick Chubb might finish above them this year in fantasy. So yeah, I think you just got to take him here because last year he was RB1 overall in points per game. I think up until Deshaun Watson came back. So
That's the big mystery. And you hope Cleveland pulls their head out of their ass and they give the ball to Chubb.
that's to give him the rock, dude.
That's it. And that's the only thing that's concerning with Nick Chubb. I mean, when Brissett was in there, he was rolling, and then Deshaun Watson come back, and I don't even think he scored a touchdown with Deshaun Watson.
He might not have.
It's like they almost completely faded their running game. And I mean, in a way, if they wanted Watson to knock some rust off and they knew they were out of the playoffs, okay, I get that then maybe. But hopefully this year we don't see them come out and throw the ball 60 times and be an offense that they're not.
But you know what I'm thinking here with him is it's like the reports on Deshaun Watson haven't been that great out of training camp from what I've been reading. And not that you know me, I hate training camp rumors. I don't really put any stock into them. But I'm just thinking, you got Kevin Stefanski. You have to think they'll get rid of him before they get rid of Deshaun because of the contract. So if his job theoretically is on the line, I think he would just force feed Nick Chubb because that's the best way that they're going to have to win.
Give the ball to your best player.
Yeah, give the ball to your unanimous best player, and that's Nick Chubb.
No doubt. And really it's a good value pick here. And even as you're almost getting him here around closer to that running back 2 range. And I'll tell you, that's not bad for a guy that can put up the numbers if they hand him the football.
No, dude, I think he could be RB1 overall this year. So
if he gets enough volume, he definitely has the ability he could do it. And now too, with the pass catching open with Kareem Hunt gone, we all know that he's probably not the greatest in the world at it, but I don't think he's bad at it either.
No, I mean, he could 25, 30 receptions a year. So you give him that. I think he could do some damage with that. Just leak out back from the backfield and do what he does on the ground with some more volume.
Get the ball in his hands.
Exactly. Just put the ball in your best player's hands.
3-4 now, going to 3-4 with me. And this is a player that I know Andy's going to be like shaking his head that I'm doing this, but it's getting to the point where I got to take him. It's Davante Adams, wide receiver, Las Vegas Raiders. It's not that I don't like Davante Adams. Believe me, I love Davante Adams. I hate the Raiders this year. I'm with Andy on that. Dude. I don't think it's going to be pretty. It seems like Josh McDaniels like really rubbing a lot of people the wrong way there. I know Davante Adams himself's upset. He expressed that, with no Josh Jacobs being available right now. I know he's not happy about that, saying he should be here. And, they go out and they get rid of Derek Carr, which, okay, I get it. He couldn't get you over the hump. But they bring in Jimmy Garoppolo and think like that's going to make a big difference.
But I'll tell you one thing, dude, Aiden O'Connell looks like a baller.
Yeah, I was just going to say he was kind of a little impressive. So maybe there's a little bit of a glimmer of hope on the sky of doom in the Raiders.
That guy.
But I mean, the talent's there with Davante Adams. I know he's another guy that's a little older. He's 30 years old, but finished wide receiver 3 last year.
Yeah.
But no Derek Carr. Will that affect him? I do think it does. I don't think he's going to fall off like the earth completely, like the earth's flat. He's going to fall off the end. I think he's going to be more around maybe like that 10 to 14 range, but he's still going to be, reliable. It's Davante Adams.
And he's still just a great wide receiver, man. So it's like, it's just disgruntled wide receivers are scary, but I think the value that you're getting on him here, you have to pull the trigger.
And two, I've said this during the show, I think there's an outside chance that there is hope that maybe he gets moved from the Raiders if it goes bad. So there's always that chance that he could even be traded at the deadline.
I think that's a possibility too. I didn't think about a mid-season trade for Davante Adams, but if you have a contender who's seeing that, he's still clearly a top-level wide receiver, so maybe they would pay for him to join their team in the middle of the year.
Yep, and two, he's disgruntled, so.
Exactly. I think he would want out of there.
No doubt. Going to 3-5. 3-5, back to you, brother. Who you going with here at 3-5?
Let me just plug my phone in real quick. All right. I'm going to take Mark Andrews here.
Oh, I like it.
27-year-old tight end. I don't think you can really go wrong with someone like that. If I'm touting Lamar, then I think I got to have his highest weapon up there too. So I think there's another value on him. Once Kelsey does retire, then I just think the position goes straight to Mark Andrews, really, at number one overall in the tight end rank. So I know you guys had Kyle Pitts up there. I was considering him too when I'm looking at the board, but if I want to win now, I think Mark Andrews is my guy at tight end if I can't get Kelsey.
And we like Kyle Pitts, but like, I mean, let's be honest. We even said this during the show. I do think Mark Andrews outperforms him this year because,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just such a disaster for Atlanta throwing the football. Like Musk said, you got a 6'6" Kyle Pitts and Desmond Ritter's missing him. He's wide open in the middle of the field. It's a disaster. Like straight dynasty value. Kyle Pitts probably is like edges out Andrews as far as value, but consistency and points right away. And for the next handful of years to come, you're going to get him from Mark Andrews. At least he's in a better situation.
Absolutely, man. And like we mentioned, him and Lamar just have that mind meld. It's like you guys mentioned, when things break down, I think that's Lamar's best trait is when the play breaks down, he finds that open guy, and it just always seems like it's Mark Andrews. So
yeah, it's like Lamar either relies on himself or he relies on Mark Andrews. Yeah. There's no in between there.
Yeah, I like this value right here. I think that's with that.
It's a good pick. I've seen him go a lot around this range, and again, you can't go wrong because as long as he's healthy, and like I said, like last year it sucks he finished tight end 4. I get that, but still it wasn't like a total train wreck.
But it's like I had him, man. He got injured. Lamar got injured. I mean, before that, he was carrying my fantasy team at first. So
yeah, just gotta hope everything goes well.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go to 3-6 here, and here we go again at 3-6. Drives me nuts. I can't believe I'm going to do it, but I'm going to take Josh Jacobs here at 3-6. Man, it just, this situation with these running backs, I know the Raiders, but I do think he'll be back. But the bad thing is he's not in game condition. And like we mentioned during the show, I know he's not happy with his contract. I know he's not happy with the Raiders. Does he pull a hammy and then, I'm out for 4 to 8 weeks and I'm not coming back? And in a way, can you blame him? Because he wants to solidify himself and make sure he's set up. And, and if it's going to be a team, this Raiders team that's going to be maybe a bad team, does he really want to play on that team? Is he going to give 110% effort? It's tough to say. But, there is always hope maybe next year he ends up on another team, or maybe him and the Raiders work it out and they keep force feeding him and he's the bell cow. But I think he's always going to be a high-end running back 2, low to mid-end running back 1 if he's healthy and he's out on the field playing. So I got to go Josh Jacobs. The run comes to an end. I mean, it was getting tough. I knew it was going to be around this time, and he just fell to me here. I had to take him.
So I meant to mention this with Devonta Adams. And I mean, him and Josh Jacobs, 2 supreme talents. There's no knocking talent at all in these guys. But my concern with the Raiders is that these guys played with Derek Carr, and who I think just gave so much to that franchise that it's like you had teammates getting in car accidents, killing people, accidentally, of course, but like these are difficult times, man. And he stuck by him, and the Raiders just kicked him to the curb. So I just think I wouldn't blame Devonta Adams or Josh Jacobs for being like, you know what, fuck you guys, I'm not going to play for you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do.
I wouldn't blame him.
Josh McDaniels, as Andy said, Andy hates Josh McDaniels. He hates him.
Like me,
he just rubs them the wrong way. I think he alienated a lot of the former Raiders. He's trying to bring in guys that he wants, these expatriates, and it's just bad for
It doesn't work, dude. It doesn't work unless you're Bill Belichick.
That's it. And he's no Bill.
No, nobody is.
But the Josh Jacobs run come to an end. I grabbed him here at 3-6. 3-7, Candid. Who you going with here?
3-7. I'm gonna take Drake London here. I think the guy's just so talented that I think he can overcome this bad situation. And it was between him and Kyle Pitts, and I just think Drake London's a little bit more talented than Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I mean, I it's tough, like Andy said, and I agree with him. Like the way I look at the Atlanta situation is there's so many bona fide like potential superstars there. You can't load up on all of them. You almost got to take a choice. You almost got to take a choice. So I have no problem with you going with Drake London if that's who you like, because hey man, it's just there's so little to go around with that, like that passing offense. So like you can't have both Kyle Pitts and Drake London, or you're going to lose. There's no doubt about it.
That's basically it. But man, I just think with his build, I love tall wide receivers. So I think he's just such a good separator for his size too that it's like I could see him having like a 13, 14 touchdown outlier season where it's just like if the quarterback ever gets right, like this guy could go nuclear.
Me and Andy talked about this, and Moss also. I mean, he was rated highly for us coming out as well. He has such a talent. It's just such a shitty quarterback situation in Atlanta. I mean,
I,
there's no way to sugarcoat it, but like Andy said, and I do agree with that. Like, if you take a choice, just take that choice. Drake London's a great piece. You're not going to get hurt by just having Drake London, and it might work out in the next year or two, and you're really going to explode. It just sucks when you tie yourself to such a gut wagon if you get like
it does.
if you get Bijan and Drake London, it's
Yeah.
like you're playing with fire.
It does. I just think he's so talented, man. For him to be separated at that size is just
I've said it, man. If Drake London was on the Chargers, people would be drooling.
oh my god, yeah, Jesus, man.
So
He, he-
it's where you end up.
yeah, I think he'd be a top 8 dynasty wide receiver if he is on the
Oh,
track. No doubt.
people would just be drooling, man. We're gonna go over here to the 3-8, back to the 3-8 to me, and you know I made Andy frown with that one pick. I'm gonna make him smile now. I'm gonna take JSN, Jackson Smith, and the Jigba. I love this guy, man. Everything I've seen, great route runner, great hands, great concentration. I mean, another guy, it's like a 6 foot, like to me, really comp similar to Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I think with a little bit better down the field ability.
For
I
sure.
think very similar players, but I think he's a little bit more of a threat deeper down the field. And man, this offense, I know Tyler Lockett's there, and I love Tyler Lockett. And I mean, even if JSN don't take off this year, next year he's going to be an absolute monster. I've said it. I do think he still has a really good year this year.
I
but,
do too.
but I think he's going to be a real monster in the next 5 years. Like I honestly think he's going to be a perennial top 10 finish. Just love the guy, man. Loved his tape. Love the way he plays the game. Such an athlete, really good concentration, plays big for his size. Check. I'm taking him 21 years old on top of it.
Man, I don't put a lot of stock in like combine stuff, but his 3-cone, dude. I mean, it's just if you want to sign them, the guy's just going to be a natural separator, like we've been mentioning with the other guys. I mean, JSN's that guy.
Yeah.
He's going to get open. He's going to command targets.
This could be a pick, like we kind of mentioned with Gibbs. This could be, and Bijan, of course. This could be a pick if you making your dynasty startup that could just really propel your team for years to come.
Absolutely, dude. And it's like if DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett go down this year, then you're not even gonna have to wait. I mean, you just thrust him into your lineup, and you're gonna have a guy that might give you better production than definitely Metcalf. I don't know if he'll quite outproduce what Lockett gave you like the last 3 or 4 years, but man, dude, he's such a good talent.
No doubt. Going to be electric. Can't wait to see him. I'm really excited to see them old school Seattle throwbacks too.
Me too, man. Those are beautiful uniforms.
They are. Jumping into the 3-9. Back to you now, Candid. 3-9. What are you going with here, man?
Give me a second here. I'm a little stuck between players right now.
Take your time.
So I want to go Kyle Pitts here, but I just went Drake London. I feel like I kind of planted my flag there. You know what? I think Kyle Pitts deserves to be in this range.
You taking Pitts?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Kyle Pitts here.
Well, and it ain't on the same team theoretically, so it's a good pick.
I think you kind of just have to take him here. Really, I think he deserves to be in the top 3 rounds overall. I think he's just one of the most talented players left on the board, and it's just, I mean, we can copy and paste what we said for Drake London. It's just a shitty situation, but
it is a shit situation. There's no doubt about it. But the guy, and I've said this, you know, the prices that you can get for Kyle Pitts still, even after 2 disappointing seasons, people really believe he can be a difference maker. And I think he can.
Yeah,
I think he can be a really good player. He just needs to get that quarterback situation figured out. And as I mentioned on the show, and I truly mean this, if it goes bad again this year, if it goes bad and you want to acquire Kyle Pitts, it's the best time because he'll be coming into the last year of his contract the next season. And he might get out of Atlanta and it might just go wheels up for him.
Mm-hmm. And same thing goes for Drake London. I actually haven't drafted Drake London because I plan on sending out a bunch of offers when they inevitably just look like trash this year because of the situation that they're in. and get them even cheaper. But this is where I would take them in a draft, though,
Oh,
because both of them are just so talented. And it's like tight ends are notorious for just developing later in their careers, anyways. And he's shown you that potential already as a rookie with a washed up noodle arm Matt Ryan. So I think he's just a really talented player.
no doubt about it. He is a talent and he holds a lot of value, and that's important. But we're going to go over here to the 310, and I'm going to do it, man. I'm going to be a homer here. I'm going to take Najee Harris, running back, Pittsburgh Steelers. I know that Jalen Warren, I'm going to tell you right now, Jalen Warren looks like he's going to be a phenomenal player as well.
More
They're extremely blessed at the running back position. I said it, I could see a world, honestly, like as good as our offense has looked. I mean, I know I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself a little bit, but as good as our offense looked, there could be a world where they finish both around 12 to 15, somewhere in there. And I'm totally okay with that. Getting Najee here as a high end running back too. I feel good about that. I think the touchdowns will be there a little more this year because they're going to move the ball a lot, and he's going to be more your goal line guy, and he's still going to catch a good amount of passes. I do think there's a world, and we've seen it. There's so many committee backfields around the league.
That's just what the league's becoming now.
It is. And I think there's a world where you could sit Jalen Warren and Najee Harris down at the table and they could have dinner together. I think it's going to be great. I'm going to take him here. I feel good about it. I'm still not spooked off enough to not take him here at the end of the third round.
Yeah, I don't mind that pick at all. I mean, they theoretically they improved the offensive line, and really last year was marred by the injury that he had for the first half of the year. Once he started to get over that hump, I mean, he looked really good.
Yeah, he did, man. He did. And too, like you said, the offensive line's huge. Like and you're in an offense where they want to run the ball. And that's what's nice. And even having Jalen Warren there, at least Najee won't get completely run into the ground. Mm-hmm. So that will help too. We're going to hop over to you here at 311. 311, your last pick of this mock draft. It better be a good one.
I'm going with Tony Pollard here.
Oh, the homer pick.
Yeah, I think I accidentally let him slide a little bit too far. I think, me personally, I like your Najee pick. I just like Tony Pollard a little bit better. So I think, why didn't I take this guy earlier? But he's still here, so.
I was just going to say, we had one homer pick. We had to get another one in.
So. Yeah, exactly, man.
But no, I will tell you this, though. If he's healthy, I mean, he should see a huge workload.
Yeah, dude. And I don't even think he needs a huge workload to give you an RB1 ceiling because he already did it last year on barely over 50% of the touches.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the guy was a machine last year, man. I mean, and it's just such a big play guy. Like, it was amazing when he got out in the open field, like to see.
He's just gone.
Oh, yeah. And two, like I said, dude, look what they got Deuce Vaughn there. Ronald Jones, who's suspended, did really nothing.
Rico Dowdle and Malik Davis. I mean, I still think that it'd be smart for us to add like a Leonard Fournette or just somebody of that ilk to just be a big body and almost take carries away from him to get too many carries a game because I just think that just increases his injury risk. But if you're a fantasy gamer, you want him to touch the ball as much as he can.
No doubt about that.
I just don't think he needs to give you an RB1 ceiling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And with the pass catching, he just has it all. Hopefully he's completely healed from that injury.
I hope so, too. I think that's why he's sliding a little bit in just every draft. But I see him, and it's like when you watch him, you just know he's talented because he takes kickoffs to the house. I mean, he jukes guys out of their boots. I really trust the talent with him. And it's on the field, he's going to give you good fantasy performances.
Yeah, it's no problem with me with Tony Pollard here. Like I said, the workload alone, it could be huge. And it's great, too, because if you do have a bad season and you have him and he goes off, and you could get a good amount for him to sell to a contender.
Exactly, man. He doesn't even really have very much like wear and tear on his body other than that one-off injury. I mean, he's hardly really touched the ball before last year, so.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, we're going to go to me, the last pick of this 3-round, 1-quarterback mock draft. I'm going to end it with Justin Herbert. I'm going to take him here.
Good.
I was looking, there was a couple players there, but it's getting to that time. A couple of the other quarterbacks went off the board, of course. And I think Justin Herbert, man, is in prime for a big season. Last year, it didn't go well. We seen, the injuries that they had all across the board. The receivers were banged up. Their all-star left tackle, Slater, he was hurt. That guy's a monster. He goes down. And then, too, now, man, Justin Herbert had that rib injury. I don't think
Yeah.
he ever fully healed from that. So,
No, and
they bring in, too. They bring in QJ. I mean, I'm not the biggest Quentin Johnston fan, but it is another weapon. It is another weapon. I mean, at least it's somebody. So, I mean, they're trying to build that offense. And I think Herbert, like, he's kind of what I said, about some of these other guys. If there's still a discount to be had, please go get him.
Yep.
I mean, he's going to be a cornerstone piece for you for years. He's going to be a perennial top 7 finish every year.
Yep.
And I think with the ceiling of a top 3.
Yeah, for sure. My thing with him, why I didn't take him earlier, I think he belongs in this tier. I'm not the biggest QJ fan either. I mean, I actually really don't like him. It doesn't mean that Justin Herbert isn't good, and it doesn't mean that there's not going to be more like just youth coming into that wide receiver room alongside QJ, because Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are just they're going to be out of the league soon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The clock's ticking.
But when you have a guy like Justin Herbert, you're going to start surrounding him with pieces. So I just think he's locked in, like you said, he's locked in as a top 7 quarterback really every year, because he's just that talented. And you're getting a value on him here. So
yeah, right around the beginning of the 4th round, end of the 3rd round. I mean, you'll see him in there. That's really good for one quarterback leagues for a guy like Justin Herbert.
Exactly. I mean, you're going to get probably 10 plus more years of him just being an elite fantasy quarterback.
For sure, man. Well, that's going to do it for this 3-round mock draft. Dynasty, 1 quarterback. A lot of fun. I mean, I knew you would have some good stuff cooking. That's why I like doing these with you. You're not one of these guys that are Mr. Consensus. You plant your flag. But I do like your takes a lot of times. Like Andy said, like, really like what you come up with. So, I'm going to be looking at this board, and it all helps. Like I said, with these startups coming up, sometimes you're conflicted. So if you can watch a video like this, if you want to look at our rankings over there, you want to listen to some of the old podcast episodes, it's all good stuff, man.
For sure, dude. I think we really gave a lot of in-depth rationale behind all of our picks. Let us know if you agree or disagree with some of our picks. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback. But
yeah,
really about these players. So
yeah, definitely, man. And that's what makes it fun, is trying to see what everyone has to say about it, see what they like, maybe what they don't like, maybe who they would take. But it's that season. Like I said, these next couple of weeks before the NFL season is startup time, so everyone's
right around the corner, man. My goodness,
it's almost like Christmas time in fantasy football. But no, man, I appreciate having you on, Aiden. Thanks for coming on as always. Guys, you got to go over to Twitter and follow this guy, Aiden Grover, Candid Fantasy Football, one of the original OGs to Dynasty DNA. He's been with us forever. Really, like Andy says, really like his takes, really like to pick his brain. So you got to go over there and check him out. He also has articles up on the website over there. You got to check out the article page. He has those up on there as well. And two, we're going to be having more videos like this. We talked about this. We're going to be doing little things here and there. He's going to be dipping into more talking live to you guys. So, and two, if you have any questions, follow him over there, man. Believe me, he's a great follow. You won't be disappointed. I loved your tweet about no cell phones at training camp.
Yeah, man. Like, come on, dude. It's just, I hate beat reporters. That's really who my issue is with, because they just tweet out the stupidest shit. It's like from 40 yards away, and like, oh, I've heard so-and-so's looking the best in practice. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, why is this guy's ADP climbing? Like, he's playing against air.
The hype machine.
Yeah, dude. Like, come on. You just got to tune that out, man. That's, if you follow me, and if there's one thing that I want you to take away from that, it's that just none of this stuff matters, man. Just stick to your gut. It's like TJ just said, I like to go against the consensus when I feel that, it's proper time to plant my flag. And that's just what you're going to get out of my page. That's why it's called Candid Fantasy Football, because I want to tune out the training camp bullshit and stuff like that.
And that's, like I said, that's what I love about you, man. You always are thinking ahead. You're always trying to find the values. You're trying to find players that you like. You're trying to go against the grain, and that's what wins championships. Yeah, you can lose doing that way too, but man, I'm telling you though, you got to put yourself in the best position you possibly can. If you can get ahead of the game, you're always in good shape.
Exactly. Couldn't agree with you more, man.
But again, guys, follow him over on Twitter at Candid Fantasy Football FF or at Candid Fantasy FF.
Yep.
I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. He's one of the best out there. Aiden, we appreciate you having you on.
I appreciate you a lot, man.
This is a blast. We're going to be doing more stuff like this, guys. Please tune in with us. We'll be having a few laughs and enjoying ourselves. But this is going to do it for this Dynasty DNA YouTube video, and we'll see you guys on the next one.